Hi, and welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Marvelous Joe.
And I'm his twin brother, Johnny DC.
And in this episode, this is strictly a news episode. We won't be doing a review or a duel episode. It's just all about the news that occurred during the San Diego Comic-Con for 2018.
Yeah.
And since this is a Marvel vs. DC podcast, if we had to announce a winner, it would probably be...
It was DC.
Yeah, it would probably be DC.
Marvel was a no-show. I mean, in terms of, film-wise, Marvel was a no-show.
Yeah, Sony presented some stuff, and we'll go all over that. There was a lot that happened, but also not a whole lot that happened.
Honestly, I'm kind of disappointed in this year's Comic-Con. We've covered this on our podcast for 3 years now. This is the third year.
This is the third year.
I would say this is the least exciting Comic-Con for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved the stuff that came out of it for DC, but I really feel like I expected more. There were these rumors beforehand that DC was gonna, put their house in order, essentially. They were gonna reveal the name of the DCEU, like the official name. Yep. They were gonna reveal the name of like their Elseworlds film series, like what the Joaquin Phoenix's Joker movie is going to be.
Right.
Like that universe. And just clear up the slate as well. Like, is Nightwing still a thing? Is, what's happening with Suicide Squad 2? We don't know any of that.
Yeah, they were pretty tight-lipped as far as all that stuff goes. At least you got trailers and stuff like that. Marvel was disappointing. We knew they weren't going to show up, but I at least hoped that I would get more news than, the devastating James Gunn news. That seemed to be the biggest story coming from Marvel out of San Diego Comic-Con. Even Fox didn't show up. Like, this is the last Comic-Con that'll occur before Dark Phoenix comes out to theaters in February.
Yeah.
And they didn't show anything of it.
And it's like, why? I was super surprised that we didn't get anything from them. I mean, it's not like they didn't show up there. They showed the Predator stuff.
Right.
So why not show stuff from the X-Men?
It makes you think that they're reshooting so much of X-Men Dark Phoenix that they just have nothing to show, perhaps.
Fuck.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Anyway, let's get into the breakdown. The news that we're going to be going over for this episode is the Aquaman trailer. We're going to talk about the Shazam trailer. We're going to talk about the devastating James Gunn news, where he was fired by Disney. We're going to go over the Venom footage description and the leaked photos. We're going to talk about Wonder Woman 84. There was brief leaked footage there and a description of the footage. We're going to talk about the Joker. It got a release date, and some story rumors came out that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
And we'll also talk about the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse casting news regarding a few of the characters in that film. Television-wise, we're going to go over that Titans trailer, and we're going to talk about the Iron Fist Season 2 trailer, as well as some character reveals as far as that show goes.
Yeah, that's the main news that we'll be talking about that came out of Comic-Con. Just a quick reminder that the chapter times are in our episode description, so if you want to jump around, feel free to do that. Also, this Thursday, as we do every Thursday, we'll be releasing a bonus episode of Dynamic Duel on our Patreon account. I'll be doing a quick animatic of Lion-O versus He-Man, and we'll determine the winner between those two in a battle the same way we do our duel episodes.
Right,
so that's going to be fun.
We'll take their stats, run 1,000 simulations, and determine who the winner would be through that system. So yeah, go ahead and go to patreon.com/dynamicduel if you want to check that out, as well as the blooper episodes, the movie pitch episodes, and the top 10 episodes. It's just $2 a month, and yeah, it's worth it. I have to say so myself. We put a lot of work into those bonus episodes. So.
Yeah.
All right, one of our goals for Patreon is to get to 25 patrons, where we'll print out the Dynamic Duel No Prize Awards that we award to one listener every week that gave the best answer to the question of the week.
Speaking of no prize,
it's no prize time.
So a no prize is an award that Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. It was a empty envelope, and that was the joke. It was so valuable because it was so useless. And our award, our version of the award, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is even more worthless. It's a JPEG that we post to social media. So the winner of this week's no prize gave us our favorite answer to last week's question, which was, what was your favorite news item from the San Diego Comic-Con 2018?
Yeah, so we want to give honorable mention to George Kranitis, whose answer was he was proud about how DC stepped up their game to compete with Marvel, Brandon Wright said he was most excited about seeing Typhoid Mary and Steel Serpent in Iron Fist Season 2. There was some footage that they released at Comic-Con that the general public didn't get to see, kind of like a sizzle reel of the upcoming season, in which it was revealed that Alice Eve is going to be playing Typhoid Mary, and she's going to be one of the villains in that season. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Ken Johnson gave the answer Wonder Woman 1984, and he was excited by the fact that it's not a direct sequel. And Adrian Maines gave the answer of the Titans trailer. He was most excited by that show trailer that's coming out for the DC Universe.
Yeah. But the winner of this week's No Prize goes to Joel Seagrave, who gave the answer Batman Hush animated film, which for me personally was the best answer because the Hush storyline, I bought that entire line, and that was like the first storyline that I had bought in its entirety.
Yeah. In our early years, we mainly checked a lot of like trade paperbacks from the library.
And, checking out Wizard magazine to keep up to date on the current news.
And read them
like
in Barnes & Noble, things like that. Yeah.
No, but DC announced so many animated films for next year. We're getting Batman Hush, Reign of the Supermen, Justice League versus the Fatal Five, and Wonder Woman Bloodlines. So we're going to have a ton of content to review for next year.
Yeah, it's about
next
time.
year is the year of DC. Finally, after this year, it's been so light. So yeah, congrats again to Joel Seagrave for giving our favorite answer. Keep listening to the episode, and we'll give another question of the week, and you can get your chance to win next week's No Prize.
So with that out of the way, on to the news.
So we're starting things off with the biggest thing to come out of Comic-Con, which was the Aquaman trailer.
If you're a DC fan.
Yeah, no, everyone thought this was the biggest thing. This is no contest. I was shocked at how it exceeded my expectations.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting as far as this trailer goes before I saw it, but whatever those expectations were, they were definitely exceeded.
Yeah.
The scope and the ambition of this movie is so far beyond what I thought it was going to be. Like, a lot of it actually reminded me of, like, the Avatar movie, like how big that film was and how big it looked portrayed in the trailers. This film looks comparable to that in terms of scope. I was surprised.
Absolutely. We had been teased about how big this film was going to be earlier on. James Wan was saying things like, this is going to be a globe-trotting adventure film. Mm-hmm. But just seeing all the different locations and all the different sets just blew my mind. It looks so good. James Wan is fantastic. I'm so glad he waited to show this trailer at Comic-Con because, we've been waiting for this all year.
Right.
We finally got it, and I'm so glad that they waited because it looks fantastic.
Yeah, he probably waited to have the special effects done because so much of this is special effects.
Yeah.
I think one of my main thoughts after first watching the trailer was like, what is the budget on this thing?
Oh my gosh.
The budget looks huge.
It looks
because
huge.
So many of these shots were special effects shots. And for the most part, they look pretty good, especially for a film that's, in development and not coming out until December. They still have a lot of work to do on it, but for these shots here, they don't have a whole lot of work. It looked good enough, at least for this trailer.
Oh yeah, it looked like a lot of these shots were pretty close to being finalized.
Yeah.
And they still have half a year to work on it. So I'm excited, definitely, by what I'm seeing. It looks different from any other superhero film, maybe other than Thor Ragnarok. Like there was like a gladiator scene in the trailer.
Yeah.
But other than that, like it's definitely different from anything DC has put out.
It's funny because I read someone on Twitter say that this Aquaman movie is the exact same movie as Black Panther.
What?
Except that Killmonger is the hero. This outsider comes into this magical land and then like takes over the throne.
Interesting. I don't think Black Panther wanted to destroy the rest of the world.
No, yeah, and that's why it's not an apt comparison. But I did think it was funny about how some outside guy just comes in and usurps the throne. Even with the whole gladiator fight thing, like where they have a trial by combat kind of thing, that reminded me of Black Panther too. Actually, like for the crown.
Except this one looks way more exciting with like lava and just like spears being swung around like crazy, and audience members just like, yeah.
I don't know why that was such a cool moment in the trailer.
It was the music.
Seeing all those people like erupt in applause and stuff like that. Usually I don't get excited by people getting excited, but there was something about that moment, and I think it was just the way it was shot or the way the extras all kind of like cued their arms lifting together or something like that. But it was pretty cool.
It was really well edited. I think the music, the action, their reaction was also your reaction in some way after seeing like them dueling underwater, and Jason Momoa was delivering badass lines like, I call it whooping your ass.
He said, I call it an ass whooping.
Yeah, something like that.
There was another shot that reminded me of Black Panther when the camera, it was like a first person perspective going into the water. I think actually Wakanda. That was my very favorite shot of this trailer.
Oh yeah.
But it was kind of a similar effect where, you know,
you go past the barrier.
Yeah.
It looks a lot different than what they set up in Justice League.
Doesn't it?
I'll say that. You're right. That was one of my favorite scenes of this trailer too. It literally like took my breath away.
Yeah.
Like that's the shot that looked most like Pandora, like Avatar to me.
Right.
It looked so good. All the depth and just the architecture.
The animals.
Of it. It looked like a really cool world. Yeah. The world that they've created in this trailer is one I want to be in, and definitely one I want to experience on the screen.
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely not the world that was portrayed in Justice League. It looks much brighter. It looks much more interesting.
Yeah.
Amber Heard doesn't have a British accent. I don't know why she had a British accent in Justice League. It was just so weird.
She had like half of one.
Yeah. But yeah, I like this version of that world better, and I'm glad to see that the influence of Zack Snyder is no longer really guiding a lot of this. You know, James Wan is an auteur in his own right, and I think it shows here.
I mean, I like Zack Snyder, and I liked the films that he directed, but I do have to say that after seeing this, I kind of don't miss him as much. Yeah. Because it just shows how capable James Wan is.
There's something to be said for, you know, alternative creative visions.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Different visions, different characters. We get to see a lot more characters in this trailer.
Yeah.
You know, it starts off with Aquaman's parents, Tom Curry, and Queen Atlanta. Nicole Kidman looks fantastic.
Yeah, did they do some de-aging, like, computer work on her?
Well, I heard that they were going to do what they did for Hela in Thor Ragnarok. It's a body double. You know, Marvel does that all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did it here. I wouldn't be surprised. You can't tell. You know, the trailer establishes just like the love that Arthur Curry has from his parents. And also establishes, you know, pretty early on when he's a young kid that he's able to communicate with sea life.
Yeah, that was an interesting scene. Those bully kids were just ridiculous looking.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to bully the bullies and tell them to get a haircut. But it was a really cool effect. The shark going up against the glass and then all of the animals in that aquarium standing behind him.
Yeah.
It was a really great sell on his powers.
Absolutely.
On his fish speak powers, which often get made fun of. At this shot right here, it's like,
no one was laughing.
Oh, man.
No one was laughing.
I want those powers.
I mean, this was simultaneously one of my favorite scenes in the trailer and my least favorite because of the kids. They can't say Arthur.
They say author.
It's like, dude, do a different take.
Why do those kids have that haircut at this period in time? Like, shouldn't he be a kid, like, around in, like, the early 80s, late 70s, maybe?
Yeah, I think they're trying to make it relatable. This scene is specifically relatable to kids.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, they're familiar with those bullies with those specific haircuts, I guess.
Okay.
But no, aside from the shark looking a little CG, that scene was really cool. It was really clear. I love the cinematography, and this whole damn trailer is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of lens he's using, but it's giving you a pretty good panoramic view of almost every shot that you're looking at. It's a really wide lens.
Really wide, yeah.
Yeah.
After that, we get to see the adult Arthur Curry invading Black Manta's submarine. And then Mera introduces herself to Aquaman, and she kind of sets up the stakes of the film, explaining that, you know, his half-brother wants to take over the surface world. And that tidal wave that comes by is just massive. And you understand exactly right from that, like, oh crap, this is trouble. The actor who plays Ocean Master, Patrick Wilson, he looks awesome.
He does. He looks so much more awesome than I thought he was going to,
like,
honestly.
Even from the stills that we got from Entertainment Weekly, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, right. But yeah, in motion, he looks so cool.
He looks very aerodynamic and fierce.
It almost makes me wish that, like, Aquaman had, like, a cape. Because it just, like, lends itself so well to, like, the waves and the movement of the water.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. It's a really cool look. If I was an underwater superhero, I would have a cape just like that.
The drag would slow you down, wouldn't it?
No, don't worry about it. So then we get the really cool shot of Atlantis and the fight scene, which we've talked about. But we get to see a young Arthur Curry also training with Volko.
Oh, yeah, that was cool. I was wondering what was going on there because I thought it was Orm that threw the trident and all of a sudden a young Aquaman catches it. And I'm like, wait, what just happened? And then I realized, oh, that must have been Volko. because he's young, so they're training.
Yeah.
And then we see him swimming alongside each other. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a few, like, in The Crow when Brandon Lee, like, caught the knife between his hands. It was, like, the first time we ever saw that in film. And that happens, like, several times in this trailer.
Yeah, with the sword.
Yeah.
That shot where he breaks the sword seems a little bit clunky to me. I don't know if it seemed clunky to you. But it's like, if he caught the sword between his hands, if he's sandwiching it right there, he should just break it right there. I don't think he needed to, like, slam it down,
Take
like,
5
into
seconds
nothing.
to, like, lift his hand. And
Yeah, by the time that happens, the guy could have lifted up the sword and whatever. But in regards to the training, I really like the way they portray high-speed underwater swimming. It just looks like flying. I wasn't sure if they were going to, like, kick their legs real fast or, like, move their arms,
Well, they established that in Justice League.
Right. But what they did not establish was how they were going to speak underwater. I thought it was going to be awkward just seeing them speak underwater without any kind of, like, air bubble or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't.
No,
it wasn't
not at
awkward
all. Not at all.
It made visual sense in a way that I didn't think it would.
Yeah, like, I was afraid of that. I was afraid that I was going to have a hard time interpreting, like, the sound coming through the water. But, I mean, there really is no filter, which is totally fine by me.
Yeah.
We get a few shots of Arthur Curry and Mara globetrotting, and Amber Heard looks so stunning. It is insane how beautiful she is.
Her hair is pretty cool.
Her hair is really cool.
She looks like the Little Mermaid.
She does.
A lot. I think they were going for that, though.
I'm sure they were, but I mean, it's not like that's not from the comic. So maybe the Little Mermaid stole it from DC. You never know. Right after this, we have what is my favorite shot in the entire trailer, which is where
you already said that your favorite shot was going underwater to see Atlantis.
It's not it's one of my favorite shots. My favorite shot, like at the top of my list, is a scene where Arthur and Mara are jumping off of a boat that's swarmed by the trench.
Oh yeah,
and
was
they
cool.
dive into the water. And this shot is nothing that I've seen in film before. It's an entire like cross section of an ocean.
It's like a big tidal wave, isn't it?
No, it's not a tidal wave. No, absolutely not. It's like a cross section. James Wan is so brilliant. He cut like into the water. And it's this really wide shot. You get to see all of the trench just like chasing after Aquaman, who's like diving down. It's not a tidal wave.
Oh.
He is visionary enough to imagine, again, a cross section of the ocean. And it just looks really cool.
I'm pretty sure they're body surfing a wave right there.
They're
and
not
like,
body
and like the boat is like at the crest of the wave.
No, that's not what's happening there.
Well, we'll just find out later on, won't we?
Why don't you watch the trailer? Did you not watch the trailer?
Oh, I did.
No.
And as long as we're lying about our favorite shots, I'd have to say that my favorite shot is one of the final ones where it's the shark army versus the crab army.
Oh, that was cool. That also was my favorite shot.
and Orm's like big crocodile shark. I have no idea what that creature is.
It was like a prehistoric like shark.
Yeah, he like bites one of the crab people in two.
Yeah, the crab people or the lobster people. I guess that's the brine.
Oh, really?
They're like flinging lava and stuff. And the Atlanteans are all bioluminescent. It's just so cool. This movie looks like it's going to be the coolest movie ever.
It's very much a fantasy mythological take on Atlantis as opposed to, like a scientific one. I like the approach. And, if you need science, then I guess maybe Black Manta brings that science angle.
Well, I mean, this is taking place in the same universe as, like Wonder Woman. So they've already kind of established in this universe that this mythical kind of stuff exists.
Yeah. What did you think of Black Manta?
So that was my favorite shot of the trailer when he was just the look of him is so cool. And it's so true to the comics. I didn't think that they were going to be that faithful.
Yeah.
But they were.
Yeah.
And it looks so badass.
I didn't think they were going to give away his eye beams in the very first trailer. Like, I'm wondering what else they have to show. That's one of the only concerns I have about this trailer is how much they showed and how much could they possibly have left to show.
Yeah, that's true.
In subsequent trailers before the film is released without showing too much of the movie.
I almost don't need another trailer, right? Maybe one more. But this was like enough. You're right. They definitely showed a lot.
It was a lot to process.
Maybe the next one could be more of like a story trailer, like explaining that they're going after a trident or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, I love everything I see here. There's not a single thing that I don't like. And it just gets me so excited. I want to cry. Just waiting for it. I can't. I don't want to.
It was a good weekend to be a DC fan this past weekend for sure.
Absolutely. Not only because of Aquaman, but also Shazam. We got the Shazam trailer during Comic-Con. This one
very different.
Very different. Not anywhere near as epic as Aquaman, but still really good.
Still pretty true to the comics, I think, Jeff Johns' run on the character of Shazam.
Yeah. I'm really impressed with Asher Angel as Billy Batson.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was expecting because, he's a Disney Channel actor. The story of Billy Batson's kind of somber, so I didn't think like he could play like a somber kid. I thought it was going to be like overly comedic.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. He played him really well. Like one of the opening scenes when he's, stealing a car and then getting into trouble, and then you see him just like sitting there in the office saying he could take care of himself. It's good acting.
Yeah. I think he actually is a little bit cooler than Zachary Levi.
He is cooler than Zachary Levi. So, so I really like this trailer, but that's probably like the one qualm I have is that Asher Angel, the way he's acting, the way he's like beating up bullies and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry." And just like even the way he's walking, I don't see that kid slipping Slurpees and blowing bubble gum and doing all the goofy stuff that Zachary Levi has been doing like for the promotional material and stuff like that,
Yeah.
He's a kid who's too down on his luck to be that, I don't know, childlike, I guess.
Yeah, like the kid is acting very like adult-ish, but when he's an adult, he's acting very childish.
Yeah.
So there's this weird kind of mix-up there.
Yeah. There's one shot specifically towards the end of the trailer where they must be at like some kind of, I don't know, it's like a carnival or something like that. Asher Angel is walking and he has like this pretty cool strut. And he's just like, Shazam! Like a badass.
Yeah.
And then there's like a lightning bolt and smoke. And then you see Zachary Levi like, I don't know what this walk is. He's like puffing out his chest. And he's like swinging his arms and like, rocking his torso from side to side. And it's not the same walk that Asher Angel was doing at all. It's goofy.
Yeah, it's almost like they didn't quite compare notes. If anything, Zachary Levi looks and acts more like an adult version of Freddie Freeman's character, played by
I agree.
Jack Dylan Grazer, yeah.
Yeah, and he does a fantastic job in this trailer. I really liked him as well. I like the child actors more than the adult actors, I guess. Which is fitting because, it seems like a pretty family-friendly film.
Yeah.
Like, it's geared toward kids. Earlier today, our friend Baker, he was like, this trailer didn't really resonate with him. He said it was probably because it was outside of his demographic. And I was like, well, yeah, as an adult, you may not be as interested in a story of a kid becoming an adult superhero.
Right.
Because you're already an adult and it sucks. For kids, that's like the greatest. It's like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, with like the movie Big.
Yeah. But I still really liked this trailer. And I think it was because of the kid actors. Jack Dylan Grazer's line where he says, "Oh, why are you so dark? You're a disabled foster kid. You have it all." I was cracking up. What great line delivery.
Yeah, that was pretty good. My favorite part of the trailer, I think, is when they were testing out his powers.
That was cool. That's just going to be a fun time in the movie theater, watching them do that.
Yeah.
Zachary Levi can do the floss, which is very impressive, because I know a lot of adults who have attempted it and have failed.
I could do it. It took like a good 10 minutes of practice. 10 minutes that I'm not proud of, but I could do that dance.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jaimin Hanso, we don't really get to see his face, surprisingly.
Yeah, it makes me think that he just did voice work for the character.
Well, no,
unless they shot
if
inserts.
you peer into the shadows, it does look like him, I guess.
But his casting was announced so recently.
Yeah.
I feel like they shot it with a double because they couldn't get the original Bobby Fish guy from Luke Cage. So they shot it with a double and just decided to ADR the lines in post.
I don't know.
And maybe like do some quick inserts here and there. Why else would he be so much in shadow?
Yeah, you have a good point there. If it's Jaimin Hanso, you kind of probably want to see him because he's all about his physique. It's why you cast him.
Right.
Shazam definitely has a different look than I thought he would in this film, and his name is Shazam in the film. It's not Mamaragan. He says, say my name so my power may flow through you. And he's like, I don't know what your name is, sir. Again, good acting on the part of Asher Angel as Billy Batson.
Yeah.
The Rock of Eternity set looks so cool.
Does it? It's pretty dark.
It is dark, but it looks cool. You could see like the council seats of the Wizard Council. It's right out of the Jeff Johns run.
And each of those wizards represents like a different mythology, like a different race's mythology, right?
In Jeff Johns, yes. Yeah, there was like a Shinto deity and like a Native American deity, Mayan. It was all over the world. It was so cool. I loved that take on the Council of the Rock of Eternity. So what did you think of the costume?
I'm hoping that they do a lot more to the glowing lightning bolt in post, because while I'm excited that it does light up, I wanted to see a little bit more effect than that, because right now it just kind of looks like a plastic light up device in his suit. It doesn't look like anything that's magical or has any sort of power behind it. The costume itself doesn't look quite as good as I wanted it to. It does look very heavily padded.
It does look padded. I liked it though. I liked it a lot more in motion and seeing Zachary Levi like act in it than I did from like the still photographs.
Oh, really?
And like especially the behind the scenes shots.
I think in the still photographs it didn't look quite so plasticky, but it was a pretty cool effect when Freddy went to touch it and like the electricity was working through it.
Yeah, it's cool to see his lightning powers. Like when he's like walking through the mall and he's like, your phone's charged. And the guy's like, phone explodes. He's like, what the heck?
He probably had a Samsung.
I cracked up. That was funny. There's a lot of funny stuff in this trailer.
The funniest part was the half pipe flying scene.
Maybe.
That's the part that made me laugh the most. He got pretty up there and then he just crashed to the ground, which was a pretty good visual. But it makes me wonder if Shazam will actually be able to fly in this film.
I think that the way they'll set this up is, you know how when Freddie Freeman asks about what superpower do you want? Oh, flight, because heroes fly. I think they're sort of setting up Shazam's arc to when he finally becomes this heroic character of who he's meant to be. He learns to fly.
Yeah. So he's going to become a hero by fighting Dr. Savannah in this film, correct?
Yeah, what did you see one shot of him? There's not much to say. I mean, he catches his fist, which shows how powerful he's going to be, which is pretty cool.
It was a weird line where he's like, you're the bad guy, right? And then he goes to punch him. I'm not quite sure what the setup is there, but it's kind of awkward.
I'm sure we'll get a better idea of what the stakes of the film are in subsequent trailers, because we still have a long time before the film.
Right, yeah, this one definitely did not show too much.
No, this one sets up the world. This one doesn't set up the story.
Yeah.
Other than them finding out what the powers are. But the last scene where he's in the convenience store, and they set up kind of like a harrowing scene where like they're shooting on a kid. He's not really a kid. He's a superhero, but a kid gets shot in this trailer when you think about it. But the fact that they were able to spin that into a pretty successful joke where it's like, you have bullet immunity. Like that was kind of exciting. And he's like, you guys are dead. I liked that they ended it on that scene. Thought that was pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I like how they ended it on the joke like, hey, what's up? I'm a superhero. I thought that was pretty funny.
I would say that too if I was a superhero.
Yeah.
There's a lot to relate to. And not too many DC heroes are relatable.
Shazam if anything, a lot of DC heroes are the opposite of relatable.
Right. But Shazam is one of the few, I think. And this trailer so far, it has me. I'm definitely sold on this film.
It definitely stands apart from anything else that we've seen superhero-wise. And that includes even like Spider-Man Homecoming, who is, a teenager superhero.
Yeah.
One last question. What do you think of this being a Christmas film being released in April?
I don't understand that. There's Christmas lights all over this trailer. It makes me wonder what they were thinking. Because Jeff Johns' storyline took place during Christmas. And I was just thinking, like, are they that adamant about following Jeff Johns' storyline that they would set a Christmas film in April? Just because of that storyline? I don't get it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But yeah, that does it for that. Let's move on to the really, really sad, depressing, horrible news that came out of Comic-Con, which is that James Gunn has been fired by Disney and will no longer be directing Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because of decade-old tweets and some more recent, like some about a half a decade ago, that were dredged up by this alternative right conservative guy who was getting an argument with Gunn over politics.
Yeah.
Because Gunn is, if you follow him on Twitter, you may know that he's being very critical of the current administration.
Yeah, he's an avid liberal tweeter.
Right, yes. So this douchebag brought up all of James Gunn's old tweets, presented them, and Disney's response was to fire him immediately.
Yeah.
Which sucks, especially since, this happened so long ago, and James Gunn had already apologized for these tweets, and Disney was likely already aware of this stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, I went through and I read some of these tweets that he sent out, and
they're pretty bad.
They're just crappy. They're just real shitty. They're not funny jokes.
No.
They're offensive for offensive sake. That's who he was at the time. He's grown since then.
Yeah, have people not seen his films?
Yeah, did they not see Super? Or like he was part of the Trauma Fest. He did Tromeo and Juliet. And I saw a clip of that film and it has a zombie penis in it. Like shooting out of a guy's pants and attacking a woman. So it's like, this is the guy, Disney, that you hired to do Guardians of the Galaxy. You obviously had some inkling of, the kind of like shock humor that he was accustomed to at the time. But we haven't seen anything like that from him recently, especially since he started these films.
Yeah.
And it's easy to see how he's grown as a person, just, through following him on social media like that. He doesn't do a lot of that shock stuff anymore. And, you also have anecdotes from people who know him and people who have worked with him who are saying, this is not who that guy is anymore. So it's horrible. My initial reaction was just disbelief and anger.
I was pretty devastated when I saw the news.
If there's one thing that you get from this news, that is, if you're a celebrity, delete your tweets.
Even if you're not a celebrity,
Delete your tweets.
just delete everything because, you're going to go to a job interview and they're going to be like, oh, let's look at your Facebook history.
Yeah. Freedom of speech does not apply to the workforce, to companies. Businesses have the right to hire and fire for things like this, especially considering that Disney is a family company. So I understand where Disney is coming from.
Sort of.
A business sense, but I do think that ultimately they made the wrong decision here.
I mean, it's not like he said these things while he was on the clock. So to me, that's different than some other controversial political things that have happened while people, were on the clock. Like
Roseanne.
I was going to say Roseanne, but again, I guess she wasn't on the clock either. I don't know.
She was currently filming a show for Disney at the time, on ABC.
Yeah.
Actually, this is one of the arguments that I saw on Twitter where they were comparing this to the Roseanne incident, where she was fired by Disney for a tweet that referred to a black person as a monkey. And the tweet that I saw said, if you make a racist tweet, that makes you a racist. If you make a tweet about rape, what does that make you? Which I don't think is a fair argument.
Or a tweet about pedophilia. It's a joke about pedophilia. You can't make racist jokes because that makes you a racist. You can't make sexist jokes because that makes you a sexist. Well, if you make a joke about rape or pedophilia, what does that make you?
It doesn't make you a rapist or a pedophile.
No.
It makes you... You're making light of those situations, which...
Right.
Doesn't make you necessarily the best person, especially to people who have gone through that. But it's not, I wouldn't say, as extreme as, calling a black person a monkey like Roseanne did. So I don't think the Roseanne incident is a valid precedent for this type of situation.
I think it's comparable, but I'm worried about speech in general. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't know what the line is. Like, is satire just going to die? Like, what does this mean for the industry?
I think this certainly sets a dangerous precedent because...
A horrible precedent.
Because it shows that even if you change from the person that you used to be, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because people will still go back a decade ago, find tweets that you did, and you'll still be punished for that. What's the point of changing is what this says. What's the point of changing if it doesn't matter anyway, if your past will always come back to haunt you? And I think that's ultimately why Disney made a huge mistake here, because he apologized. He apologized before he even did Guardians. And I think as a society, it's probably our responsibility to call out unacceptable behavior, especially in this day and age.
As it's currently happening with Roseanne.
Right.
But not stuff that happened 10 years ago.
But also it's our responsibility, I think, as a society to forgive those who have apologized and have demonstrated personal growth over time. Look at Robert Downey Jr., look at Josh Brolin. Those are two guys who have done some shit, and they work for Disney right now. But they've moved on, and so has the general public. The general public has ultimately forgiven these two stars.
Yeah.
And James Gunn isn't necessarily a star.
No.
He's behind the camera.
I would say he's a star director. I think people know who he is.
Yeah, people who are familiar with his work stuff.
Yeah. It just makes me think, like, again, where is that line? Like, right now, the director of Shazam, David Sandberg, his Instagram handle is Pony Smasher. And it's hilarious. But, like, when are people going to come out and say, like, you can't have that Instagram handle because it implies violence against animals or, something else? And it's like, where is the line?
Oh, I think the line is don't make jokes that have real devastating effects on real human beings. Have a little bit of empathy with your humor. And I think it's possible to still have satire and do that. And that just applies to this day and age. I do think that a line was crossed in his tweets. If you've read the tweets, you'd probably agree. But yeah, again, he apologized. I don't know what the move is going from here.
Yeah.
I doubt that Disney would reverse their decision despite these appeals.
That's not going to happen.
I would like to know who they plan on getting for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and if they plan on going with Gunn's script, and if they do, does that make them hypocrites?
Right. Do they have to like just burn everything that James Gunn has planned, and done in pre-production for this film because they just despise him so much now?
And it wasn't just Guardians of the Galaxy 3 that he was working on. Kevin Feige was setting James Gunn up to be like one of the main creative heads for Marvel Studios post Phase 4.
Right.
So I don't know what's going to happen with that now either.
I have my ideas, but I'm really curious to hear who other people think, which brings us to our question of the week.
So the question of this week is, what director should replace James Gunn for Guardians of the Galaxy 3? Post your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize, and we'll post to social media. And it does kind of sting to be almost moving forward like this when the wound is still so fresh.
But, there's no way Disney is going to backtrack you, right?
So, I'd be interested in hearing some names of who could possibly kind of match Gunn's style for the third film.
Yeah.
Let's move on to other Marvel news. This is a Sony Marvel news where we got a description of footage that was shown during the Venom panel at San Diego Comic-Con. I think for me personally, as a Marvel fan, this was probably the most exciting Marvel news to come out of Comic-Con was this footage description.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's going to be a pretty crazy movie.
I don't think I read the footage description.
So they showed a few scenes. One of them deals with Eddie Brock feeling sick and just all the different things he's doing to try to like make himself feel well. Mm-hmm. But like some of the more crazy ones were like he's arguing with Venom and Venom kind of comes out of his body and like beats the shit out of him.
What? Like he takes like a humanoid form?
Yeah, somewhat. They didn't describe exactly what he looks like, but we know that Venom emerges and talks to Eddie face to face. And then they say that Eddie, his body gets all bent and broken, and then Venom heals him.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting. Like this guy just has no control over this parasite that's now in his body.
I like the idea of maybe like just his head coming out and maybe an arm, but I don't like the idea of Venom taking his own form that's like humanoid.
I don't think it's going to look like that.
Okay.
No. Yeah. But there was like a cool shot where Eddie's riding a motorcycle and he's about to get sandwiched between two enemy cars. Mm-hmm. But the symbiote just kind of like stretches out and protects him from getting smashed. And there's another scene that's described where he basically eats this dude's head off.
What?
Yeah, it's insane.
Was this confirmed to be PG-13? I guess they won't know yet.
I would totally imagine that this would be rated R. One of the things that they did confirm were the villains. So the villains are basically, as we suspected, are going to be the Life Foundation symbiotes. But it sounds like the main one isn't going to be Scream, who always kind of stood apart from the rest of the symbiotes in those comics. They're saying that Riot is going to be the main enemy symbiote.
I don't know any of these symbiotes.
There's Riot, Scream. Scream is the girl symbiote, and we know that because she has long hair. But there's also Phage, Lasher, and Agony. But Riot is going to be the one, and the way they describe this footage is that his symbiote is a little bit unique in that it can jump from person to person without any kind of like external mark. So basically Eddie doesn't know who Riot is in at any given time.
Oh, shit.
And like he's like killing people, like shooting spikes out of his back and impaling people, just like nilly-willy, and Venom has to fight him. But he kind of uses Carnage methods to fight because there's a description where Venom creates like these big axe hands and like chops the other symbiote. Huh. So that's more of a Carnage thing to create like these
weapons,
appendages.
These like blades?
Yeah, exactly. But I think it'll be a pretty cool visual. I mean, like if you don't give Venom his spidey webbing and stuff like that, I'm cool with the whole weapon appendage thing like that.
Yeah.
Just because it sounds like it's going to be put to pretty cool use here.
That's insane. That's a pretty crazy villain they have set up there.
Yeah.
It could be anyone. Anyone could be the villain.
Right.
Wow.
And apparently they will have other symbiotes in there. There was a yellow symbiote, and I guess that one's going to be Scream. I don't know if she's going to have Scream's powers or anything like that. But yeah, it looks like Riot is going to be the one that survives the longest. And eventually it's going to take over Riz Ahmed as the main bad guy. And apparently there's a fight between those two that looks really kick-ass.
I was kind of hoping for Carnage.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I bet you they might save Carnage for a sequel, maybe, if they decide to do a sequel for this. I have a feeling that based off of this description and the stuff that we've seen so far, Venom has such a cool look to him. That alone will sell a lot of tickets. And the darkness and like the dark humor of the film, I think will make it successful and probably warrant a sequel where we see Carnage. I wouldn't be surprised to see if the 5 Life Foundation symbiotes here kind of merge together and become that hybrid symbiote like it did in the comics. So maybe it's not necessarily going to be Riot, or maybe he's the dominant personality or something like that.
Or maybe that becomes Carnage.
Well, I don't know. I like the idea of Carnage being Venom's offspring, as it is in the comics. So I'm hoping that at some point during the fight with either Riot or Scream or the hybrid or whatever this is going to be, like he kind of like drops a piece of himself or loses a piece of himself, and that eventually grows into Carnage because it mixes with, I don't know, some science or something like that.
I did see like a leaked screenshot that someone took of Venom. That looked pretty cool. I mean, it was just a still image. It didn't look as cool as the trailer we saw, when he says we are Venom.
Yeah.
But you're right. They probably could sell this on the look of Venom alone. He does look really cool.
Yeah. And he was huge in the 90s, I think he brings back a lot of nostalgia for a lot of 90s kids in a way that a few other supervillains do. Yeah. So I think it's...
I heard he doesn't have the white spider on him.
No, he doesn't, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So I've kind of pulled a complete 180 on this. I think if you go back to our very first episode of this podcast and we're talking about how this movie was announced, and I'm like, this is bullshit. I think what they've shown so far, even unattached from the Spider-Man franchise, I think it looks really cool. But as I've said before, they still need to attach it at some point in time, whether it be in a sequel for this film or in a Spider-Man sequel. They need to attach it to the Spider-Man franchise. I really want to see him fight Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
That's why you watch these films, is to see the hero and the villains fight. If you're going to have a Venom franchise that doesn't involve Spider-Man, that's not going to be fun in the long run.
In the long run, no.
Although, I mean,
as a one-off, probably.
If they are setting up Carnage for a sequel, I already know what the title of the next film is going to be.
Venom vs. Carnage?
Venom. Maximum Carnage.
Oh.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, probably
not.
Based off that storyline, for sure. All right, but that does it for that news.
So moving on to Wonder Woman 1984, Gal Gadot, Patty Jenkins, and Chris Pine, I guess, showed up to Comic-Con, and they presented some footage that they didn't officially release online, but we did get snippets of through someone who leaked the footage.
Yeah.
So they keep describing this as not a sequel.
That's the biggest news, I think, that came out of this panel, is that it was described as not a sequel, and that utterly confuses the heck out of me.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I don't think they're selling it the way they need to be.
Right.
Because if you take a look at something like even Batman Returns compared to Batman, it is a sequel, but it's not like they carry on like the same storylines.
Right.
Like there's no Vicky Vale or anything like that.
Right.
So you could argue that like it is like the start of a different story. And I think that's how they should be selling it, because it's definitely, it's the same actress, same actors.
Right, but the whole reason they addressed the idea that this is not a sequel is because it was asked how Chris Pine could possibly be returning for this film.
Right.
So the continuity of his appearance sounds like there is no continuity here. Steve Trevor as a World War I pilot in Wonder Woman 1984 is not a thing.
That's what people are... I think that they're just jumping to conclusions.
Yeah, likely.
I don't think that's the case.
No.
I think they either didn't understand the question, or they were trying to spin the question in a different way. I don't know. I would be really surprised if they didn't, in some way, mention how Steve Trevor died in the previous film. I think you just can't do that. But another reason I think people are questioning whether or not this is a sequel is because it looks different, and you could see that just from the stills that were leaked and from the footage that was leaked.
Oh yeah, definitely.
People are describing it as much more colorful, and it definitely is.
I think the first Wonder Woman film, the visual style of it was very reminiscent of like Captain America: The First Avenger, or like the Max Fleischer serial cartoons. It was very serial in feel, very old-fashioned.
It was a timepiece.
Yes, and this one feels more like it's paying homage to the Linda Carter show.
To the 80s.
A little bit more bubblegum, a little bit more poppy, a little bit more fun.
To me, this looks like it's going to be just as much of a time period piece as the first Wonder Woman film. And it makes sense that it's a lot more colorful and a lot more neon because it was the 80s, and that's what the 80s were like. I'm not going to say I'm completely not surprised, because it did surprise me how different it looks. This reminds me much more of Justice League than the first Wonder Woman film.
Yeah, I'm going back to the continuity thing. Do you think that this Wonder Woman 1984 film will keep the continuity of the first Wonder Woman film, but not the Justice League film?
It seems like a lot of these films are kind of ignoring what came before.
Yeah, Aquaman certainly feels that way.
Yeah, just because, again, of how different Atlantis looked than what we saw in Justice League, from what we saw in Justice League.
Right.
I don't know. I wish we were given answers from Warner Brothers. It definitely seems like this is like X-Men, how X-Men ignores some of those previous films, like X-Men 3, you know?
Right.
They're just kind of like, we're moving on. We're not going to deal with it. Just watch our films and buy the tickets.
It's possible that we're jumping to conclusions and I may be overreacting.
I think everyone's overreacting. I think people are making a bigger deal of it than it is.
But I do find myself slightly more concerned about this film than I was. I was not concerned about this film at all, actually, prior to this. And now I'm kind of like, what's happening? What's going on? What are you guys doing? I just want answers.
I'm concerned about, the people who really liked Wonder Woman, the first film, how they're going to respond to this. Like, people are saying, based on the footage, it's almost bordering on, like, parody. Because, like, she's in a battle in the mall and there's like this little girl who's in the way, so she tosses her into like a teddy bear. And that does seem almost like parody in a way.
It doesn't seem out of keeping with the character, I don't think.
Not necessarily, but it's definitely different from the first film, which was a little bit more serious, dealing with, Dr. Poison and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows how it's going to turn out in the end?
I do trust Patty Jenkins.
I do. I agree. I do as well.
I think she made a fantastic first Wonder Woman film.
I have no reason to not trust her yet, So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
So moving on to a small bit of Joker news. We got an official release date.
Yep.
It's coming out next year, which is awesome. It's coming out before Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that's really surprising.
Because it hasn't even started filming yet. So it kind of shows you like how sort of like grounded and like low budget this film is going to be.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman, of course, comes out November 1st, 2019. The Joker film was coming out October 4th,
right?
Which is a great Halloween time frame.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's a great time frame for this particular movie, especially if it's going to be as dark as Joaquin Phoenix is hyping it up to be.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of hyped for it. As much as I don't like the idea of this film happening, I do like the idea of Joaquin Phoenix playing the Joker more than Jared Leto.
What's up with us like pulling 180s on all of these villain solo films?
I don't know.
All of a sudden.
I don't know.
Are we hypocrites?
Yes. Yes.
I think it just goes to show how maybe sometimes we jump to conclusions around here, as not just me and you, but as a fan base.
The internet?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But, there are some things that I don't like about this upcoming Joker film and some things I really like.
There are some details that have been released that get me kind of excited, and they might be spoilers. I mean, they're rumors, but if you don't want to hear them, definitely skip ahead, because
we're going to talk about these rumors.
Right. So the rumor is that the Joker is going to be given a definitive real name in this film, which is Arthur Fleck, which a lot of people have been saying, whoa, that's like a Fleck, like Affleck. What the fuck? And
that sounds like a coincidence.
I'm saying the same thing. But, his name is going to be Arthur Fleck, and I guess his mom had an affair with Thomas Wayne. So essentially what they're setting up may be that the Joker is Bruce Wayne's half-brother.
Which is a wild, wild concept.
Yeah.
Is that something that you think that they're addressing in the upcoming Three Jokers story in the comics?
Like,
is one of them going to be Batman's brother?
They kind of teased that during Comic-Con as well. Jeff Johns is writing a storyline that's going to be drawn by Jason Fabok, I believe, who's a phenomenal artist, about these three Jokers that exist. They set this up in the comics earlier, like a few years ago.
Yeah, for those who may not be aware, it turns out that within DC continuity throughout the years, there have actually been three men who have called themselves the Joker.
Yeah, it all started off because Batman sat in a chair that basically gives him all the answers to the universe. And one of the questions he asked was, who is the Joker? Like, what's his real identity? And he learns that, well, there's been three of them. So he was like, shit.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to tie this film into that storyline that's being written. And we won't know for a while.
Right.
There's really no way to say. Again, I don't like the idea of the Joker having an origin. We've said this before on the podcast, but the whole brother angle, like in the last episode of the podcast, I mentioned how one of the things that really intrigues me about Aquaman is that his enemy, his arch nemesis, is his brother. Yeah. I don't know if it's just because you're a Marvel fan and I dislike you so much that this whole like sibling rivalry, it really appeals to me. I relate to it, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
So this definitely intrigued me when this rumored storyline was revealed.
It kind of changes everything if the Joker is Batman's brother.
It does.
Well, it doesn't change everything, but it certainly adds a whole different layer.
It's like Cain and Abel,
right?
It's mythical in proportion.
So you like this idea of the Joker being Batman's brother?
I don't know. It intrigues me.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I am looking forward to that. I really want to see what kind of makeup job they're going to do for Joaquin Phoenix. Is it going to be more Heath Ledger? Is it going to be more Jack Nicholson? I don't know. There's been some pretty cool fan art to come out over the past few weeks.
Honestly, I don't think they're going to reveal that. They're not going to reveal that. To me, that's like the end shot of the film.
Really?
Yeah. Because this isn't the story of the Joker. This is a story of how Arthur Fleck has, like one bad day or whatever and becomes the Joker.
Oh.
I don't think it's going to be a superhero film where at the end of the first act, they get their superhero costume or whatever, and then they have to start training. I don't think it's going to be anything like that.
Okay.
Again, I think it won't be until the very end of the film that maybe he gets makeup or something like that.
Cool. All right, let's move along into the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse casting news. It's been revealed that Spider-Ham is going to be one of the characters that appears in the film alongside, we already know Gwen Stacy, Spider-Man Noir, the main Spider-Man universe, and of course Miles Morales is going to be the main character.
Yeah.
But yeah, Spider-Ham's going to be in it, and he's going to be voiced by John Mulaney, which I think is fantastic.
He's a great comedian. I watched his show for a while when it was out, and that was a decent show.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely in my top 5 comedians, John Mulaney. And if you haven't listened to him, definitely go check out some of his stuff because it's hilarious. And Kimiko Glenn, who is an actress that I personally recognize from Orange is the New Black, but I don't think I've seen her in much else. But she's going to be voicing Penny Parker, who in the comics is known as Spider. SP//DR. It's a robot suit, essentially, kind of like how do you pronounce it? Neon Genesis Evangelion?
Yeah.
It's like a spider suit that looks like that.
Oh, is it huge? Is it big?
It's not that huge. It's probably about twice Penny Parker's size. I don't know too much about Penny Parker. They went deep into her character in one of the offshoots of the Spider-Verse storyline, which I didn't get into too much.
Is she Japanese? Is this a new take on the Spider-Man Japanese TV show?
No.
Where he had his own Megazord robot?
No, both Spider and the Megazord Spider-Man both appeared in the Spider-Verse arc in the comics.
Oh.
This is something different. She's not Japanese, but she's from alternate universe where Peter Parker was actually a girl and her name is Penny instead of Peter. She still has her Uncle Ben and Aunt May, but her dad was an engineer for the Spider Corporation, who created this robot that basically has Spider-Man's powers. And part of its CPU, I guess, comes from the radioactive spider, the radiation from the radioactive spider, I think is how the story goes.
Oh, weird.
Again, I don't know too much about her, but the design of the character is pretty cool. And, if she's going to be in this film, which already looks very visually interesting, I think she's going to be one of the highlights of the movie. It's gonna look pretty damn cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
Man, I wish Marvel released something online. I all these things you're talking about. I want to see them.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they should have released something.
Dumb Marvel.
Or we should just go to Comic-Con.
Right.
But yeah, that does it for that news.
Yeah, so moving on to television news, the Titans trailer was revealed.
Yeah, that was the first big news item to come out of Comic-Con this year, was that Titans trailer.
And, along with all the DC Universe pricing and everything like that, it was essentially $75 for 15 months, or you could pay, I think it was $8 every month. I already have my subscription. I already got it. I already got the annual membership.
Cool, I'm going to steal it from you.
Yeah, that's fine. They don't have an official release date yet. Again, we're still waiting for the beta. Fingers crossed that we're still a part of that beta. But the Titans, of course, will be launching with that service. The trailer, a lot of people liked it, I think. I don't think I was one of those people.
You didn't like the trailer? I thought it was fine. I think it's so weird that these are the same characters that are going to appear in the Teen Titans Go movie in a week. It's like the pendulum swinging from one extreme all the way to the other extreme with these characters.
Yeah, one of the people who gave the answers to our question of the week, Adrian Maines, who said the Titans trailer was the most exciting thing for him to come out of Comic-Con. I was talking with him. We were kind of talking about the fact how you could have both Teen Titans Go and something so dark. So fuck Batman. With the same characters. And I was saying, it's kind of a tribute to, how archetypical these characters sort of are, and that they work in both versions.
Yeah.
You can never do, Wolverine Teen Titans Go, because that's not who the character is.
They did. It was called Superhero Squad, and he was exactly like Teen Titans Go.
And that was dumb, I'm sure.
It wasn't. It was all right. It was fine. It was a kid show.
Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about then.
I don't think you know what you're talking about.
Maybe we should just cut this whole thing.
Well, I'm not going to.
Fuck! All right. Anyway, this is super fucking dark.
It is really dark. I think that's what the point we were getting to.
Yeah. The first shot of the trailer is, this warning that's like, this is TVMA
For language and violence.
Don't watch it if you're a kid. If you feel like Teen Titans Go, this is not for you.
Yeah, I was super surprised when I saw that. I was like, really? What are they going to show here?
Yeah, me too. And of course, it starts off with Raven at the circus. This whole thing looks really, really cheaply made.
Yeah, I mean, it's so dark, probably to hide all the cheapness.
How cheap it is. Yeah, the lighting throughout this whole thing is really, really bad. It's really bad.
Yeah, you're definitely going to have to watch this with the lights off so that the light coming through the screen will be visible.
Yeah. The actor who's playing Dick Grayson, Robin, his name is Brenton Thwaites, I believe.
Uh-huh.
He's the highlight of this trailer for me. He did a fantastic job. Like, his acting ability, even from these snippets that we see here, I could already tell, like, are a level above Stephen Amell and Grant Gustin from the CW shows. This guy's a top-notch actor.
He actually sold the line, fuck Batman, pretty well, I think, all things considered. Like, when he said it, I was wondering what you would think of it, because
I was shocked.
It's a pretty shocking line, and it's hard to know where he's coming from. We know that obviously they've parted ways here, but I think a lot of people are seeing it as a statement of non-gratitude.
Yeah.
But I think it's more like a statement of, yeah, I can do this. I don't need him.
Yeah.
I could be my own thing. It's kind of a moment of self-discovery, because they're like, where's Batman? You're Robin, where's Batman? And he's just like, he kicks the shit out of him pretty violently, I might add. I think he killed a few of them.
Yeah.
And then he's just like,
he definitely
Batman.
fired some shots at them, which is crazy.
Well, he stepped on one guy's neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has blood splattered on his face when he delivers that infamous line.
And he stabbed another guy in the neck.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
I don't know.
Is this like the Snyder approach to their killing rule?
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. This whole thing definitely feels like very dark, sort of like Batman v Superman. I think that's the approach they're taking here.
Weird.
Even darker.
Yeah, way darker. It's like they looked at the Netflix shows, like Daredevil season 1 or something like that, and they're like, we can beat that. We can go darker than that.
Yeah, absolutely. There have been times in the comics where Dick Grayson and Batman have had, falling outs, and they've been upset with each other. And, it takes someone like Tim Drake to get them to reconcile and stuff like that. So to me, him delivering that line wasn't as shocking as it may have been to maybe some other people, but it is still a little out of character. Dick Grayson is supposed to be like the shining example of what Bruce Wayne could have been.
What do you mean by that?
Character-wise. He doesn't let things bring him down to a level where he becomes Batman.
Like an asshole?
Yeah, in a way.
Huh.
Batman used him as an example when someone in DC, I forget what villain, was talking about how horrible the world was. And Batman was like, well, look at Dick Grayson. How heroic he has become in spite of everything that he's been through in his life.
Yeah. And you could learn more about Nightwing in our Nightwing versus Daredevil duel episode, where you go into his backstory.
Yeah, just to plug that. It's actually a great episode. I really liked that one. But again, Brendan Thwaites, he's a great Nightwing. I guess I should say Robin. This whole thing just kind of is a huge turnoff for me, just tone-wise, I think. And I don't know if it's because of Teen Titans Go and there's so much contrast that it's almost like an overcorrection.
Well, I would agree that I think that this show could be a few tones brighter. Maybe they went a few shades too dark. Especially like you look at characters like Hawk and Dove, and you see Hawk and Dove fighting, and Dove is supposed to be like this pacifist. And yet she's like freaking ripping dudes' faces off and slashing at their knees with her razor sharp wings.
Yes.
And I'm like, what happened to the pacifist Dove?
Yeah. She's the avatar of peace.
Right. She's the avatar of peace. Yeah. And that's what she's doing.
Slicing dudes, Achilles tendons and back of their knees.
There are a lot of moments that just seem out of character for a lot of these characters.
Yes. A lot of this trailer is Raven focused. And I'm not too impressed with the actress who's playing Raven. I didn't think I would be, and this is sort of like my fears come to light. I don't like the way they're depicting like her evil nature. It's sort
I
of
thought
like,
that was pretty cool looking.
It's very
the special effects on that?
Yeah.
I thought it looked cool.
I don't really care for it.
It's kind of like horror movie vibe.
It is horror movie vibe.
That's cool.
I don't like horror movies.
Well, that's Raven, man. I don't know what to tell you. She's like the daughter of a demon, right?
In a way, I guess. I mean, I've seen other depictions where like her skin turns red and stuff like that. And not just in Teen Titans Go, because I know that's what people are thinking. But I don't know. I think there's better ways to depict it.
That's cool.
I'd rather see her eyes like glow white than like turn black.
No,
personally.
She looks so cool. She looks like a zombie or something like that. It's cool.
Yeah, it's like right out of The Exorcist.
Yeah, trust me. As a horror fan, it's a cool effect, I think.
Okay.
Just trust me.
What do you think of Starfire?
Starfire, I think, is the coolest looking one out of the group.
She looks cooler.
I mean,
than I
power
thought she would.
wise.
Yeah, power wise.
She has the coolest looking powers. I actually think she's the worst looking one out of the group because, those set photos that were taken of her in her streetwalker outfit apparently is her outfit. That's her superhero outfit. And I would say, ditch that fur coat because it looks stupid.
It looks really stupid.
Yeah.
I want to see some more characters in superhero costumes other than Robin.
And Hawk and Dove.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think that this whole first season of the show is probably how Robin transitions from his Robin suit into Nightwing, and how everyone else gets their superhero costumes.
Yeah, probably.
I would love to see
their origin
That's
story.
what I want to see is superhero costumes.
We didn't get that in Daredevil.
And that's why I think comparing it to the Netflix shows is an apt comparison because we didn't get any superhero costumes that first season for Daredevil.
Right.
Not until the very last episode, I think.
Yeah, and it was still a good show, although the character of Daredevil is a lot more grounded than someone like Starfire or Raven.
Yeah.
But I think that definitely that they're using Daredevil as an inspiration here. So in that regard, I wasn't quite sure what to think about Daredevil season 1 when they were advertising it, without the costume and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was a pleasant surprise. I'm really hoping that that's the case for this show.
Yeah. We get to see Beast Boy in addition to Starfire.
Yeah.
And he does have green skin in one shot, and in the other, he doesn't. So I'm horribly, horribly confused.
It looks like a lot of these characters change appearance when they're like activating their powers.
Yeah.
I bet you Beast Boy only has like green skin or fur or whatever when he's transformed into an animal. Starfire only looks like Starfire when she's using her powers.
Yeah.
Raven turns into demonic mode when,
she's being a demon.
Yeah.
For Starfire, it's kind of cool that they sort of did go the orange skin route, but it's sort of like embers like burning under her skin to give her that kind of look.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
I mean, it makes sense for the character because not only is her name Starfire, but her hair does like glow fiery orange when she's flying.
She's shooting fire instead of the green energy blast.
She is shooting fire. Yeah.
How do you feel about that? I don't really think of Starfire as a pyrokinetic.
No, she's not. So it's hard to be excited for this when there's not, I think, too much to be excited about. I don't really like what I'm seeing.
Trust me, as a horror film fan,
oh my gosh,
I'm marginally more excited about this than you.
Yeah, probably.
You don't watch a whole lot of dark shows and movies and stuff like that, but I've seen quite a few of those in my time. I don't mean to brag, but I've seen Dexter season 1, so...
I guess I shouldn't be too surprised that they're going this route because, I mean, if you wanted something lighter, watch Young Justice. If you wanted something even younger than that, watch Teen Titans Go. The last shot of the trailer is the logo, and it's different from what they've been promoting.
It's not as cool.
Site. Yeah.
It's more comic accurate, but it's not as cool.
Right. Yeah, I kind of wish they would have gone with the one that they've been using in their other promotions.
Yeah.
But that's basically it for the trailer. For me, the only thing I'm looking forward to this is Brendan Thwaites as Dick Grayson. Again, his acting, when he like stares at his Robin insignia, then like flings it and it sticks into a wall. I was like, fuck yes. And then he was like, fuck Batman. I was like, oh no.
One step too far there, son.
Right.
Dial it back. All right. So in Marvel TV news, we got an Iron Fist Season 2 teaser trailer, a release date, and a description of some footage that was released during the con, which reveals that one of the villains during this season is going to be Typhoid Mary.
And I'm not too familiar with her.
Typhoid Mary is actually a Daredevil villain. She is a character with multiple personality disorder. Her name is Mary, and she dated Matt Murdock for a while before he discovered that she was a mutant. Kind of similar to Legion, but not that intense, where she has an alternate personality that's just like wildly seductive and unstable, really. She's been with the Hand, and she knows how to fight and things like that. She has pyrokinesis. But she also has another alternate personality called Bloody Mary. And Bloody Mary has telekinesis, and she's really good with knives and stuff like that. So she's a fairly interesting character. I don't know how far they're going to go into like
Well, it is like
that multiple personality disorder.
It is like Legion.
Yeah. Well, like Legion is different in that, and especially the way they portray him in the Legion TV show is that his disorder, his mental illness stems from his power as a mutant, his like all-encompassing power. His brain can't handle it.
Yeah.
This is kind of the reverse of that, where she's a mutant and her insanity is what manifests these different powers. That's kind of the way I see it.
Interesting.
Again, I don't know how far they're going to go into that in this show. She is going to be played by Alice Eve, which was a huge shock because I really like Alice Eve. She's just a really attractive actress. And I'm kind of disappointed because I was kind of hoping that she might hold out for the role of like Sue Storm and everything.
Oh.
She definitely doesn't remind me of a Typhoid Mary type.
Yeah, she's a movie actress. Why is she doing television?
Well, because she doesn't get a lot of movie roles. She's not that great of an actress. I'll say that.
Okay.
She's beautiful, but I can see why she's doing this role.
Well, it makes me think that the character is going to be like really big, like the primary antagonist. Like I thought it was going to be like Steel Serpent.
Yeah, I would still prefer to see Steel Serpent as the main bad guy. We know that he is going to be one of the bad guys because of, one of the teasers showed his logo, which they've been teasing ever since Daredevil season 1. So this is exciting.
Yeah.
And there was footage of the two fighting for the right to challenge Shao Lao the Undying. And they're both wearing the classic Iron Fist garb, according to the description.
Oh, yeah, I saw a leaked photo of that, I think.
Yeah, that photo wasn't super impressive.
It doesn't make me want to see the Iron Fist costume.
Yeah, it looks a little homemade and ill-fitting, that mask.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a hard style of mask to pull off and make you look cool. So I'm hoping that when eventually they do adapt it for current modern-day New York, Danny Rand, that it looks a lot cooler than how it looks in this footage.
Yeah.
But apparently the fight choreography is a whole lot more impressive in this footage and will be for this season due to the hiring of a new fight choreographer. Really looking forward to that. They did show some fighting in the teaser that they released to the public.
I don't think that looked any better.
It didn't look necessarily better. It was certainly cut better, I think. But yeah, they didn't show much in the ways of like impressive martial arts moves.
No.
It was kind of...
And they needed to.
It was a generic teaser.
I don't know why the hell they released that. If you're not going to like display like how much better your choreography is, then why even show anything?
That's true. It was like the most generic teaser of all teasers.
Yeah.
It's just basically Danny saying like, oh, this is my city and I'm going to protect it. You can't stop me. And then he punches the ground with his iron fist, which is always a pretty cool effect. But yeah, according to descriptions of the footage, the fight choreography is better. So I'm just going off of that. And I'm really looking forward to this season.
Why don't they release... Marvel needs to release some shit.
We'll see it eventually soon enough, as soon as, I think, September 6th is the release date for Iron Fist Season 2.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was coming out this year.
Yeah, it's coming out in like
me.
2 months. Under 2 months, actually, like in a month and a half. So it'll be here before you know it. So, yeah, I think that does it for all of the news, all the major news that we're discussing that to come out of Comic-Con for Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
And so that does it for this episode.
Next episode, we will be reviewing Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Which, after seeing, I still haven't shown my daughters this new Titans trailer.
Yeah, they're going to be like, who is that? Why is he saying the F word?
Fuck Batman.
I think fuck Batman is going to be my new catchphrase.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to use it a lot.
No, and I'm kind of disappointed that I'm not going to be able to watch the new show with them, evidently. But I do get to watch this, and I think it's going to be a good times, and I think we're going to have fun reviewing it.
It's getting a lot of great reviews.
Oh, I haven't seen any reviews. Really?
A lot of people are saying it's really funny.
Good.
So, me not being a DC fan, me not having ever watched this show, according to what people are saying about the movie,
yeah,
Teen Titans Go to the Movies, I'm actually looking forward to it because I think, even just based off the trailers, I think I'm going to laugh a lot, I think.
This is my first theatrical DC movie of the year. I've been in such a drought. I'll take what I could get. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm really pumped. I already have my tickets and everything, and yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so we'll be reviewing that in our next episode. Please review our podcast or share it with your friends, people who like Marvel and DC. It really helps us out and spread the word because we're trying to market this as best we can. But it's, at times slow growing. So yeah, anything you guys could do to help, we really appreciate.
And if you like our duels, if you like our reviews, please subscribe. It's an easy thing to do to get a reminder of when our episodes are released.
Yeah. And you can visit dynamicduel.com, not only to listen to our podcast, but you could also see all of our social media links there, as well as a link to our store where we sell pretty cool Marvel and DC designs that we made ourselves.
Right.
Yeah. So check that out. Again, dynamicduel.com. So that does it for this episode, and we will talk to you guys in a week.
Up and away.
Fuck Batman.
Oh my gosh, I hate you.